Okay, we'll get started with Loyola. We'll go to questions for student athletes, but first, Coach, if you could give us a couple of thoughts for today, and then we'll go to the student athlete questions.
Just excited for our guys. I mean, they're ready. We just had a great workout, and same kind of prep. You got a 1 day to get ready for Kansas State. We got a ton of respect for Kansas State. They've guarded as well as anybody in this tournament. I think they're giving up 33% in 3 games. So it's really a lot of respect for how hard they play, especially how they're guarding.
Okay, questions for the student athletes. We'll start way on the left.
Tom Martin with KCTV. This is for Ben and Clayton. Clayton, I know you mentioned you had some friends who were Jayhawk fans back home. Any K-State connections for either of you, friends, family, etc.? Clayton, why don't you go first?
Yeah, I mean, me and Ben both know a lot of people from our high school that go to K-State. We have a lot of friends that go there, people who we were really close with in high school. So, yeah, we've definitely gotten some texts and calls from people who go to K-State for sure. Oh, I mean, they're pulling. I mean, I think that they're kind of pulling for us just because of our relationship. At least I hope they are. They might be saying that to my face. I don't know if they actually believe it or not, but yeah, it's all in good nature.
Ben?
Yeah, I mean, I've received lots of texts as well, and you know, I got a couple that were like, you know, cheering for you to win this game, but if K-State wins, then I don't know if I can pull for you, like joking around, but it's all in good nature. We got a lot of good support from back home, and it's been really good to see all the people reaching out to us.
Let's go to the 5th row in the middle.
C.L. Brown with the Fieldhouse. This is for Dante and whoever else wants to chime in if you feel like it. I was curious with the 63 title team, how much ownership do you take in that title for the school? Like, is that something, if you got into some trash talking, would you bring up the fact that this happened in history, or is it so far removed that you guys never even really think about it?
Dante?
I mean, when you talk about, you know, having pride for your school and tradition comes up in conversations, you know, obviously that's something that, you know, Loyola has the only championship in Illinois, and a lot of people forget that, but I mean, we take a lot of pride in that. That's something that doesn't go away ever, you know, obviously. So, yeah, I think we take a lot of pride in tradition, and our history is very important. So,
Marcus, why don't you got that too? Go ahead.
I mean, yeah, just like Dante said, you know, it's great tradition, but I know we always talked about, you know, the 6'3" team always comes in and always try to talk to us and, you know, give us the support. They always joke around and say, they said that we're better than them, that they have support for us, and we're happy to talk to them, and we're happy to have them along this run. And like you said, it's tradition, and I mean, we're looking forward to the next challenge.
Here in the middle, Charles.
Just to follow up on that, any player who wants to jump in, what has there been anything they've told you in this tournament that has been useful or has been a motivating kind of thing for you guys?
Same two, or is there any?
Yeah, I'll go.
Okay.
I don't know if they've told us, you know, anything on this tournament, but I mean, obviously they're always around. They come to practices and stuff like that, so it's just cool to see those guys kind of around and that they're still connected with us. And you know, it's not even really sometimes about basketball. It's just kind of about stories that they have and things that they've experienced in their life. Not necessarily just about basketball, just about their life and how they grew up and stuff like that. So when I came here, it was definitely pretty cool to see those guys around and just kind of learn history from them and just take what I wanted from them.
Let's go 6th row on the right.
David Hoffman, Chicago Tribune. Dante, as a kid growing up in Chicago, did you have an awareness of Illinois basketball and what Bruce Weber did with that program and the success they had, even going as far back as 2005?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, growing up in Danville, Illinois, which is very close to, you know, Champaign-Urbana and the U of I campus, obviously, I was, you know, very aware, you know, a big fan of Dear Brown and all those guys, and that was kind of the big thing, you know, back when they were going up against North Carolina, you know, on their great run, and, you know, that was basically, you know, the school, you know, for me growing up right next to U of I. So, yeah, obviously, I'm aware of the tradition, you know, the 217, you know, another guy from 217, so, yeah.
Over by the table on the left.
Stephen Dial, 41 Action News, Kansas City. Clay and Ben, talk about 3 Blue Valley Northwest students in this, the exposure for Blue Valley Northwest, Overland Park, the Kansas City area just in general, from 2 teams that, I mean, to be honest, a lot of people didn't expect. Talk about the exposure for the area back home.
Clayton, you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously really cool for us. I think we're making Coach Fritz a popular guy right now. He's been joking with us that we're making him famous. So I don't know. It's been really fun. It speaks to a lot of what Coach Fritz has done with that program at Blue Valley Northwest. I mean, has to be one of the best high school basketball coaches in the country. So I'm glad that me and Ben are getting to experience this, as well as Mason over there at K-State. We have a real good relationship with him, and just happy for him that he's getting to experience this too.
Ben?
Yeah, and just to go off that, I mean, we're super blessed that Fritz put together that team back in whatever, 3rd grade, 4th grade, and we came together and ended up at Blue Valley Northwest and got a chance to, be taught such an advanced level of basketball at a young age, and he instilled so many values and intensity and just the right way to play for me and Clay growing up, and it was just great. So it's good to see that he's kind of getting in the spotlight a little bit. He's came down to all the games, and he's so happy for us, and it's really special. It speaks a lot to how great of a coach he was. That me, Mason, and Clay all down here playing in the Elite Eight.
4th row here on the right.
Steve Greenberg from the Chicago Sun-Times. This is for Dante and for Ben. You guys have reached a crossroads that most college athletes don't get to, which is that if you win, it's like basketball immortality. But if you lose, your Loyola careers are over. What must that feel like emotionally? How does that feel today?
Dante?
Obviously we're very happy and fortunate to be in this position. But we don't take any of these moments for granted. Obviously being seniors, me and Ben, I've been here since day one with Ben. From freshman year to now, we've came a very long way together. So obviously to be here in year 4, and we're in the Elite Eight, and a week from now, college basketball will be over. We don't take these moments for granted. We want to leave it all out there and do whatever we can do to help the team win.
Ben?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a lot of big time moments, and just being in this position, like Dante said, we're just super grateful to be here, and we're grateful for all the hours that our teammates have put in, our coaches put in, and we're not necessarily thinking about basketball immortality or what it means to get to a certain point. We just want to win the next game, and we're focused on what we got to do daily in our preparation and all the little things that we got to do leading up to winning the next game, and I mean, that's just the main focus is taking care of the next one.
4th row here on the left.
Nick Schultz, Loyola Phoenix. Marcus obviously hit the big shot last night, your first-year eligibility. Can you just talk about your journey to Loyola and getting to this point, like from high school and everything?
Well, first off, I want to thank Coach Moser for recruiting me after I decided to transfer. That was a really good moment for me coming into my official visit at Loyola and just being there. And when I first got there, it just felt like family, and that was the main thing for me. Felt like at home, so that's when I decided to come in. The journey's been long. Unfortunately, we didn't have any postseason tournaments last year, but we had a real good team. We had a real good heart. I was trying to push the guys in practice all last year, and it was a long journey. For any redshirt, for any player that has to sit out, it's kind of rough mentally, but you just stick with it. And now this year, I'm just fortunate and blessed to, be with these guys. This is a special group of guys right here, and we've been doing this all year, just one game at a time. And coach just instilled good culture in us, and he's just a really good coach, and I'm really happy to be playing for him. And I'm just happy to be in this position, in the Elite Eight now. This is amazing. Just my first year back. I can't believe it, back-to-back NCAA appearances. It's amazing.
We've got time for some more questions for the student athletes. Raise your hand and we'll get a microphone to you. Steve, you're on the right, second row.
Yeah, it's Steve Hummer from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Clayton, I don't know. I guess you and Dean were back-to-back Gatorade Players of the Year, right, in Kansas. How well do you know each other as that? And along with that, why are there so many Kansas people in this tournament at this stage?
Yeah, I mean, I think it speaks to Kansas high school basketball. I mean, I think there's a lot of good players in the area. I mean, Dean was a really good player in high school, and we don't know each other barely at all. So I had somebody tweet a picture at me. There was like a all-state banquet thing when I was like a sophomore or junior, and I didn't even remember that we were both on it at the same time. But there was like we were standing right next to each other in the picture, me and Dean. So that was kind of funny. But we don't really know each other very well at all. But I mean, I think it just goes to show that there's good Kansas high school basketball might be a little underrated, and I think that it might deserve a little bit more respect.
Fourth row here on the right.
Clayton, little detail kind of, but I noticed after the last game you did a TV interview on the court, and you turned, and a number of K-State players just came up to you and congratulated you. Were those guys you knew, or was that just they were swept up in the ending and happy for you and all that?
Well, so one of them was Mason Schoen, and me and Ben played high school basketball with him. He went to Blue Valley Northwest with us, but he was a year older than us. We won a state championship together, so we obviously have a really close relationship with him, and we're happy for him that we're in this situation. And then the other one was Ahmad Wainwright. We grew up playing against him around the area in Kansas City, and his older brother Ishmael played at Baylor, and we all know each other. We all work out in the same gyms all the time in Kansas City. So I mean, we have mutual respect for each other, and I think that we're all happy that we're in this like experiencing this at the same time.
Let's go fifth row in the middle.
New bias move on Sport News. I guess kind of probably following up on his question, but what will it be like, particularly playing against guys who you played against in high school, now seeing them on this level, on the biggest stage you guys have ever been on both sides?
Is this for Clayton?
Clayton, yes.
Okay.
I mean, it'll be cool. I mean, I think once the ball goes up, I mean, it's a basketball game, and we're going to be competing, trying to win the game. But I mean, obviously, we know a couple of the guys over there, and we know what they can do. So I mean, I think we'll be talking to our guys about the guys we know on their team, and I'm sure they'll be talking about us over there. So, like I said, I think once the ball goes up, it's a competition, and we're going to try to win the game.
Dan?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a lot of mutual respect. You know, we kind of understand, you know, where each other has been and a lot of the hard work that each other has put in. You know, like Clay said, we've spent a lot of time working out in the same gyms and for a long time. I mean, the first time we played in an open gym against Ish and Ahmad, probably in like fourth grade, and that was the first time I met them, and we like guest played on tournaments together and stuff like that. So it's cool to see, you know, how far we've all came, and it's a good, you know, mutual respect for the way that, you know, each of us has worked on our game to get to this stage in the Elite Eight.
Got time for one more for the student athletes. If somebody has one, raise your hand. Okay, folks. Breakout room time. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Okay, let's continue with questions for Coach Moser. Jeff, let's start with you, and then back a row.
Jeff Schultz of the Atlanta Constitution. Coach, this whole upstart thing obviously has been a theme throughout the tournament, particularly in the South region. But there's going to be at least 3 low seeds in the Elite Eight, maybe even 4 potentially. As a guy who's coached for a while, I mean, are you surprised by this? Should anybody be surprised by this? And if not, what has sort of fed into this, do you think, moving forward?
You know, I'm not surprised. You know, watching, being a fan, you know, and a coach for so long, it's madness. There's things that happen. I think there's a lot of parity in the game, and I love it for our league. You know, there was a lot of talk that we weren't going to get in if we didn't win the tournament, and we know in the Missouri Valley how good a league it is from top to bottom, and for us to get in here, I think it's going to spark conversation about this. And I know the committees have such a hard job. Trust me, I know people on the committee. It is a really, really hard job, and but it was. It's. I'm not surprised there's low seeds in here. I mean, things happen. There's a lot of parity, and especially when you get a group, and we're kind of hitting. We got a group that really believes, you know, and they're finding ways to win, and things happen this time of year, and especially when you get a group that just believes and has made some really clutch shots down the stretch.
You said it should spark conversation. You said it should spark conversation, maybe, or could. What should the conversation be?
Well, about the system. I mean, I think it's tough. I mean, there was so much talk that we weren't even in the conversation to get in, and we felt that we won our league by 4 games. It's an amazing stat with Clayton Custer. We're 29-2 with Clayton Custer because he was injured 5 games. And I just think we have a lot of respect. I think there's a lot of leagues that are really good. Now, I understand it. I understand that it's a hot topic with this. And trust me, I'm the first one to say this. The committee has a really hard job. But I think I'm very proud of our team, what we've done. Now we've gotten in, and we've shown that there's that we belong here, and this team did. And it's hard to imagine if we didn't win the tournament, and not get this opportunity and get this stage. I know it's a reality of the way the tournament is, but I think that, the first part of the question was, am I surprised that there's low seeds advancing? And my answer is no. I'm not surprised that low teams are advancing.
We've got a couple more on this side of the room, and then we'll go to the left.
Porter, I'm sure there were lots of milestones along the way that you would know about, but it's 7 years for it to hit in a quantifiably huge way. How much has it meant for you to have that time to build it your way?
Like you know from being there in Chicago, it was a grassroots rebuild, but the dynamics changed. When you jumped to the Missouri Valley, when we jumped. And I think the first year we took a step back. And then that second year in the Valley, we won 24 games, and we won the CBI tournament. And we've just kind of been building and getting our arrow going up. And I think, I hope we're an example of it takes time. I get it. I've been there. Fans, administrations, they want it so fast. And it's tough. Culture is when your young guys come in and the older guys have the habits of what you want to build. Culture is about the accumulation of a bunch of habits. And when you take over a program, if it's down, then you have a whole locker room of guys you didn't recruit, and it's going to take some time. Your first recruiting class comes in. It's going to take some time. We really started to turn the corner when Dante and Ben were freshmen, and those seniors were a guy named Christian Thomas, a kid named Joe Chrisman, a kid named London DeKubu. Really, really tough kids. And those young guys came in, and this is how it's going to be. This is how you're going to act off the floor. This is how hard we work. This is how hard we invest. And now look, now they come in. Now Cameron Krutwig, Lucas Williamson, Christian Negron, they come in, and these guys are seniors. This is all they know now is our culture. It takes time. So the feeling of building it and really getting it to this point the right way with culture, I'm blessed, and that the administration and the fan base were steadfast on this is how we want. We're not going to bend on the academics at Loyola. That's first and foremost. And the type of character and the person it is at Loyola, we're not going to bend on that. So we were on the same page, and that is such a great example of trust in your fan base and the community of doing it the right way.
One more here on the right.
David Haas, Chicago Tribune. Porter, what do you remember about the time you'd played against Illinois and Bruce Weber, And how would you describe your relationship with Bruce over the years?
No, Bruce is a great coach, great guy. I've known him over the years. Illinois guy. What I remember is the one game we played there, and I know, trust me, it sticks in my crawl, that game. I was at Illinois State. We were just taking over that team, and we were in last place when we got there. And we played the team with D. Brown, Darren Williams, Luther Head, Roger Powell, Augustine. They were loaded. Not that I look at lines, but it was probably a 25-point underdog. But we went in there, and we had a shot to win it at the buzzer. We missed it. It goes into overtime. Darren Williams wasn't supposed to play. It was one of those things, yeah, he's not going to play. He plays, and he has like 29 against us, and we lost in overtime. So that was, and I think at that time, I don't think Illinois State had won at Illinois ever, or it's been umpteen years, but I remember that game vividly. They were a great team, and Darren Williams went off and had a great game. So that was my experience of that game. But Bruce has got a ton of respect all around the coaching profession. Just always been, from his days at Southern, from Illinois to here, just phenomenal team defense. They're physical. They don't make it easy. They make it hard. So ton of respect for what he's done at every stop of his journey.
We've got 3 or 4 here on the left side of the room. We'll start with second row.
Coach Wyatt Thompson with Kansas State Radio. Congratulations to get it to this point. My question, I guess, is about Clayton. You mentioned being 29-2 with him in the lineup. Obviously, he has wonderful skill, but probably some intangibles too. I'm curious as to, A, what it's like coaching him, and could you tell us a little bit about, as a player, what stands out to you about him?
It's a kind of, all these guys are coaches' dreams kind of kids. I mean, it's by design. It's some of the character we recruit. But, Clayton's one of those guys that it's like how they talk about a great quarterback, in the huddle. When you're in that huddle, you hear offensive linemen and other positions say, oh, you just know we're going to march down that field because the confidence that he instills and everything. That's the way they kind of feel with Clayton. When Clayton has that ball and he's leading us, you have that comfort level that he's just got a high IQ. You talk about off the floor. I mean, he's an academic All-American. He's a first-class citizen. After practice, always getting his shots up. You don't have to coach. I can say this about all these guys. I don't have to coach energy. I don't have to coach effort. We can coach the fundamentals and the detail of a game. That's a big reason why I think we're making a step forward. Our time and energy is focused in on the culture of energy and effort is already instilled. Clayton is one of those guys. He's got a winning mentality, as a lot of them do. He's about winning. This is a great statement about Clayton Custer. The first game, Dante hit the big shot, and he was up here humbly saying, any one of these guys could have taken that shot. The next night against Tennessee, Clayton hit that shot. He was humbly up here saying the same thing. And then we had a week where Clayton got a ton of hype. I mean, we're on campus. We had a welcome back party. Clayton was, hit the shot to go to the Sweet 16. And he's in the position to do it again. And a lot of people were like, I'm going to go get that again. And he drew the help, drew the corner, and kicked it. And it was just a winning play. And then Marcus was the one that stepped up and hit the shot. He drew with 3 minutes left. Clay did the same thing. We drew a little play for him, drew the baseline, turned, found Dre for a shot. Didn't try to force it. If he has it, he takes it. If he doesn't, he knows how to spray it. He's about winning instead of like, I got to get mine.
Stay on the left side of the room toward the back.
Daryl Moody, Nevada Appeal. Porter, if I can just ask you, I didn't get a chance to get into your press conference the other day, but right before the three-pointer that ended up being the game winner, Nevada's 2 fouls down with fouls to give. Were you at all surprised they didn't foul you to get you to the line before that three-pointer?
No, because he was in the same boat I was. You have to make a split decision. There was a point there where we're like, should we? You start to think, should I call a timeout? This is a big possession. There was a 6 or 7 second difference. If they foul, then you're pretty much saying, you were going to try to make them miss free throws because they're going to foul again until you get it because the shot clock resets, right? So I wasn't, that they rolled with their defense, and they can score so fast. For me, I decided not to take a timeout because then you have to inbound the ball, knowing they have some fouls, and they could be denying everything and they could hold, grab, do whatever because they have fouls to give. And we'd have to get it in bounds 2 or 3 times, which you were vulnerable to turnovers. So you have a small window to make that decision. And, at that time, I probably would have done the same thing. You're gambling on your defense. If they get a stop, they got 7 or 8 seconds, and they're a fast transition team. So, he's a really good coach. And I'm telling you, Nevada was one of the hardest teams I've had to scout against in a long time. And so it's just one of those things. They can go either way. Marcus made the shot, and then I knew I wanted to call a quick timeout because they just blow and go. And you want to at least get, because they could score in 2 seconds. So that was just kind of my thought process at the end of not calling a timeout, because with fouls to give, their length, switch, and everything, you got to inbound it 2 or 3 times in a row, which was prone for a turnover if something went wrong.
Stay on the left side of the room, 5th row.
Alex Scarborough with ESPN, talking about the preparation for Nevada. I was struck going in the locker room, all the posters with the plays all over the wall. I'd never seen anything like that. What goes into that work? What's the benefit? And how do you sort of turn around that much information in what's a really short period of time heading into tomorrow?
I think we underestimate the youth on how much they can absorb. Some people have that philosophy of, I don't want to give them too much, overload. Our guys embrace it. But in terms of the way that locker room looks, you could rewind the clock to every locker room at St. Louis with Rick Majerus. You could rewind that clock to Utah with every locker room with Rick Majerus. I took that from Coach. We travel with it. We have a war room. We put everything up. We travel with it in the locker room. The guys embrace it if they're sitting. I don't know if it's through osmosis or anything. It's just if you can pick up a competitive advantage on stopping a play here or there. But this group embraces preparation. You can hear some of the things they say. They embrace it with that. Some people do think some people's philosophy think it's overkill. I understand. There's a million ways to skin a cat. That's something that these guys embrace. And in terms of how that locker room looked, what you're referring to, it had Rick Majerus all over it.
Dan, toward the back.
Hey, Porter, Dan Wolkin, USA Today. Just given all the controversy around college basketball this year, how much of a relief maybe is it that you recruit at this level, and typically you guys aren't involved in the top 100 kids and some of the stuff that goes along with that? And secondly, do you think maybe that is part of why the country's kind of embraced this run that you guys are on, because it's kind of seems a little bit different than maybe what some of the other top programs do to build their teams?
I can't speak on, about how the country feels or not. I love how our team's been embraced because I think we play the right way. I think we share the ball. I think we're tough. And I think they've embraced that mentality. In terms of recruiting, I'll be honest, I want to recruit top 100 players. I do. You name one coach that says they don't want to recruit. I want to get those players. We're going to continue with that. And I think we're getting very good players. And I do think, we've never been a team of, recruiting a number because it's rated this for your fan base. And we've gotten guys that fit what we do. But trust me, we're going to continue to recruit at a high level, but but we believe there's a certain way to do it. We're going to obviously follow the rules and do it the right way, and that's something that we all want to recruit at a high level in those players. It's not because we don't want to go down that path. That's not the case. These kids, there's so many good kids out there. There's so many good coaches out there doing it the right way, and we all want the same thing.
Let's go to the middle of the room. Charles.
Charles Odom with Associated Press. It's very unusual to have 4 players sitting on the front row from a championship team of 55 years ago or whatever. Heard the players talk about what it means to them. But for you, what kind of resource is that, not only for your players, but for you? And what do you think it would mean to them to have you guys continue this run?
Well, in 2013, I was fortunate enough to ride their coattails to the White House. President Obama had us in the White House for the 50th anniversary for the Game of Change. And I got to spend a couple days with them as we traveled to Washington, D.C., and I was just blown away by their character, about the stories they told, just sitting there listening to the whole story behind the Game of Change. I love that this run is sparking the renewed conversation of what that team meant to our country and integration, and to hear the stories firsthand from them, and to hear the brotherhood that they had. The black guys, the white guys, everyone together. It was a brotherhood. It was a high character. They embraced the Loyola education, and it just solidified about what we were trying to do. And I said from there, the past is a part of our future. And that 63 team had zero ego. They were never like, hey, you'll never be us. We're the bow in our chests on this. They've had open arms, trying to be role models, mentors, whatever it is, to our guys from the moment I stepped on campus. And you appreciate that. They're about the right thing, the right way. They paved a path for so many of the student athletes to come after them, that I hope this story to the youth is being told and told again, that they know what the Game of Change and the Loyola 63 team meant to our country and the world of college basketball.
Back on the right side.
Porter, how would you describe the level of surprise maybe your players have now? Because they seem a little bit more matter of fact today. I don't know if the novelty has worn off or they just have gotten used to being the team that has maybe opened some eyes.
It's Andy Katz said that to me. We were talking in the locker room, and he's like, I've never seen a team so chill after they went to the Elite Eight. And trust me, these guys are bouncing off walls. They're so excited. They're embracing it. But it's just kind of been who we are about next game. They've wanted more. I told this story to some press yesterday. When we won a share of the conference title, the Missouri Valley, at Evansville, so we knew we were co-champs with 3 games left, and we were at least co-champs. And I did a courtside interview. I come in the locker room, and it was just, and I'm like, you guys, they're like, no. They didn't even want to celebrate. It was like, we want the word co out of that equation. And it's been like that every step of the way. When we got into the tournament, it was like we didn't want to just be here. And it's just kind of the way they are. Trust me, they're bouncing around like little kids. They're so excited, but they just have this edge to them that they believe, and they want more. They want more. They enjoy the moment. I mean, some of these team meals back at the hotel after these wins are priceless. When everybody's not around, it's just us, a couple hours after these 3 wins, and after our win in the conference tournament. And just those moments are unbelievable. They're like little kids. And the next day, it's like today. It was all about Kansas State, where it is. And it's just kind of how they're wired with that.
Got time for a couple of more. Raise your hand and we'll get a microphone to you. Second row here on the left.
I would like to ask Coach about Rick Majerus. Obviously a great coach, but I'm curious as to maybe the 2 or 3 things that you took from him more than anything else in developing as a coach for yourself.
The way he taught it, he was a teacher. He embraced being a teacher from his days. And my college coach, Tony Brony, was a teacher. And that era of coaches started out, you'll hear stories. I started out in grade school. Then I started in high school, and I was a teacher. I remember Coach Brony getting mad at me because I went from playing for him at Creighton to coaching at Texas A&M. And he's like, you guys skip a step in the youth these days. And it's so true. He's like, I had to teach. I had to do this. I had to drive the high school van. And that era was embraced being a teacher of the game. And working for him and then working for Coach Majerus, the attention to detail was off the rails. It was meticulous about teaching. He loved practice, and I've embraced that. I mean, now that honest to God, head coaches, boosters, fans, players, assistant coaches love game day. Head coaches don't love game day as much as them. We love practice. And so I took that from him. Sitting in a boardroom with Coach Majerus, for a couple days preparing for a game was like nothing else. The way he looked at the film and talked about, you know, this, that, stopping this, what could we do, how do you do that, and then watching him game plan and his mind work was terrific. And, you know, I think that was some of the things. And then building it the right way. It kind of solidified, you know, what I've always tried to do is get kids who want to win. Coach Majerus, anybody who played for him and knows him, he had an affinity for post players. You know, you look at it, you look at his teams at Utah. I mean, he was stacked with big players. And so I'd bring him a post player. I'd talk to him in the recruiting process. And his first question was he athletic? How high did he jump? What could he do? It was, does he love the game? That was his first question Rick would always ask. He goes, because if the big loves to play, I can help him get better. And he always wanted to know that. That's why he loved Cameron Krutwig. Coach Majerus would love Cameron Krutwig. The kid loves to play. But I took a lot of those things from Coach.
That's all the time we have. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.